Here is a number that should make you uncomfortable. Americans currently owe $18.59 trillion in total household debt. That is trillion with a T. And the wildest part about that number is not how big it is. The wildest part is that some of the people who owe the most money in this country are also the wealthiest. The top 10% of earners in America carry the largest mortgage balances, the most home equity lines of credit, and the most total debt of any income group. Meanwhile, people who are terrified of debt, who refuse to borrow a single dollar for anything, often struggle to build wealth at all. So what is going on here? Is debt the devil in a three-piece suit, or a magic wand you can wave to fast-track your financial future? The answer is that it depends entirely on how you use it. A loan is a tool. It is a chainsaw. In the hands of someone who knows what they are doing, a chainsaw can build a cabin. In the hands of someone who does not, well, you have seen those videos, and they never end well. Today we are going through everything. The smart ways to use debt, the dumb ways that destroy people, the hacks that save thousands, and the traps banks are hoping you fall into. Consider this your complete masterguide to loans. Let us start with something most people get wrong from the beginning, which is thinking all loans are created equal. They are not even close. Right now in America, a 30-year fixed mortgage, which is a loan to buy a house where the interest rate stays the same for the entire 30 years, averages about 6.1%. A new car loan runs about 7% for a 5-year term. Federal student loans for undergrads are at 6.39%. A personal loan, which is borrowing money without putting up collateral, meaning you do not pledge your house or car as a guarantee, averages about 12.27%. And then there is the credit card, the financial equivalent of a loan shark wearing a polo shirt, which currently charges an average APR, or annual percentage rate, which is the yearly interest rate you pay, of about 20 to 23%. Some retail cards charge closer to 30%. The difference between the cheapest and most expensive ways to borrow money in America is roughly 24 percentage points. That is like the difference between jogging and getting shot out of a cannon. Here is your first smart money move. Never carry a balance on a credit card if you have any other option available. I do not care how many airline miles they promise you. If you are paying 23% interest on a balance, you are paying roughly $10 in interest for every $100 you owe, every single month. The average American household carries about $11,000 in credit card debt. At 23% interest, making only the minimum payments, it would take over 7 years to pay that off, and you would spend an additional $3,600 in interest alone. That money evaporated into thin air. It bought you nothing. So rule number 1 is simple. If you have credit card debt, that is your emergency. Kill it before you do anything else financially.
Now, how do you kill it? A balance transfer card is one of the most underused tools in personal finance. You apply for a new credit card that offers a 0% introductory APR on balance transfers, usually for 12 to 21 months. You transfer your existing high-interest debt onto this new card, and for that entire introductory period, you pay 0 interest. Every dollar goes directly toward reducing your balance. The catch is, most cards charge a transfer fee of 3 to 5%. So transferring $10,000 costs you $300 to $500 in fees. But on $10,000 at 23%, you would pay $2,300 in interest over a year. Paying $300 to avoid $2,300 is an absolute no-brainer. The key is, you have to actually pay down the balance during that window. If you let the promotional period expire with the remaining balance, you are right back where you started.
Now let us talk about debt consolidation. Remember how the average personal loan rate is about 12%? That sounds high until you compare it to 23% credit card interest. If you owe $15,000 across 3 different credit cards, you can take out a single personal loan at 10 to 12% and pay off all 3 cards at once. You have done 2 important things. First, you slashed your interest rate almost in half. Second, you turned a revolving debt, which is a debt with no fixed end date where the balance can keep growing, into an installment loan, which is a debt with a fixed number of payments over a set period. Revolving debt is like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. An installment loan is like running on a track where you can see the finish line. Pro tip here. Check your local credit union first. Credit unions, which are member-owned financial institutions that operate as nonprofits, consistently offer lower rates. The national average for a 3-year personal loan at a credit union was just 10.72% recently, compared to the broader market average of 12%. Federal credit unions are legally capped at 18%, and most do not charge origination fees. All right, let us pivot to what I consider the most important section of this entire video: smart debt versus dumb debt. And I want to be clear that I'm not talking about moral judgments here. I'm talking about math. Smart debt is borrowing money to acquire something that will either increase in value over time or generate income that exceeds the cost of borrowing. Dumb debt is borrowing money to buy things that lose value the moment you swipe your card. Let me give you examples of each, because this distinction is genuinely life-changing once you understand it. A mortgage is usually smart debt. Not always, but usually. You are borrowing money at roughly 6% to buy an asset that has historically appreciated, meaning increased in value, at about 3 to 4% per year nationally. On top of that, you get to live in it. You build equity over time, meaning the portion of the home you actually own outright, and you get tax deductions on the mortgage interest. Is it possible to make a bad mortgage decision? Absolutely. Buying more house than you can afford, getting an adjustable rate mortgage when rates are historically low, or buying at the peak of a bubble are all ways to turn smart debt into a nightmare. But the concept of borrowing at a low rate to acquire an appreciating asset is fundamentally sound. Student loans can be smart debt, but this one requires way more nuance than most people give it. Borrowing $60,000 at 6.39% to get an engineering degree that leads to a $90,000 starting salary? That is probably smart debt. Borrowing $150,000 at 8.94% for a graduate degree in a field with a median salary of $45,000? The math does not work. The smartest approach to student loans is to treat them like an investment and actually calculate the expected return. Take the total amount you will borrow, multiply it by the interest rate over the expected repayment period to get the total cost. Then compare that total cost to the additional lifetime earnings you expect from the degree. If the earnings do not significantly exceed the cost, you need to rethink the plan. A business loan can be smart debt if the business generates more revenue than the loan costs. Borrowing $50,000 at 8% to start a business that generates $20,000 in annual profit means you are earning 20% on someone else's money. That is leverage working in your favor. Leverage, by the way, just means using borrowed money to amplify your potential gains. It is the reason real estate investors rarely buy properties with all cash, even when they could afford to. Why tie up $500,000 of your own money when you can put down $100,000, borrow the rest, and use your remaining $400,000 to buy more properties? Now let us look at dumb debt. Financing a brand new car with a 7-year loan. The average new car costs about $50,000. If you finance that at 7% over 84 months, your monthly payment looks manageable at around $750. But you will pay about $13,000 in total interest. And the car loses about 20% of its value in the first year alone, meaning $10,000 vanished the moment you drove off the lot. By the time you finish paying, the car might be worth $15,000 to $18,000. You paid $63,000 for something worth $15,000. A smarter approach? Buy a car that is 2 to 4 years old with less than 50,000 miles. Let someone else eat the steepest depreciation. Finance over 36 to 48 months max. And always shop rates at multiple lenders before you go to the dealership. Never let the dealer be your only financing option, because they often mark up the rate to earn a commission. Another move I see destroying people financially is using credit to fund a lifestyle you cannot actually afford. A $5,000 vacation on a credit card paid at the minimum for 2 years. Financing furniture at 0% for 12 months and then forgetting about it until deferred interest kicks in and you suddenly owe 18 months of back interest all at once. Taking out a personal loan for electronics. These are all dumb debt, because you are paying interest on things that provide no financial return and are worth nothing by the time you finish paying. Before you borrow for anything, ask one question. Will this purchase put money in my pocket or take money out of my pocket over the next 5 years? If it will put money in or retain its value, borrowing might make sense. If it will take money out, pay cash or reconsider whether you need it at all. Now let us get into advanced tax. First, the refinancing game. Refinancing means replacing an existing loan with a new one at a lower interest rate. This works for mortgages, auto loans, student loans, and personal loans. The rule of thumb is that refinancing makes sense when you can reduce your rate by at least half a percentage point on a large loan like a mortgage or a full point on smaller loans. Real example. A 30-year mortgage at 7% on $300,000 costs about $2,000 monthly. Refinance to 6% and that drops to $1,800. That is $2,400 a year and roughly $70,000 in total interest savings over the life of the loan. For filling out paperwork and paying a few thousand in closing costs. But here is the catch nobody mentions. When you refinance, you usually restart the clock. If you have paid a 30-year mortgage for 10 years and refinance into a new 30-year, you have committed to 40 total years of payments. The monthly payment is lower, but you could pay more total interest. The hack is to refinance into a shorter term if you can afford it. Going from a 30-year at 7% to a 15-year at 5.5% means higher monthly payments, but you pay off the house in half the time and save a massive amount in interest. Second hack, the autopay discount. Many lenders offer a 0.25% interest rate reduction if you set up automatic payments. On a $50,000 student loan over 10 years, that saves roughly $700 for literally clicking a button. SoFi, Earnest, and federal student loan servicers all offer this. Third, if you are buying a home, negotiate the closing costs. Most people treat the loan estimate as if it is carved in stone. It is not. Get multiple loan estimates from different lenders and use them as leverage. This can save you $2,000 to $5,000 on closing day. Fourth, the debt avalanche method. If you have multiple debts and you are trying to figure out which one to pay off first, the mathematically optimal strategy is to make minimum payments on everything except the debt with the highest interest rate and throw every extra dollar at that highest rate debt until it is gone. Then you roll that entire payment into the next highest rate debt, and so on. This is called the debt avalanche method, and it saves you the most money in total interest. There is also the debt snowball method, popularized by financial personality Dave Ramsey, where you pay off the smallest balance first, regardless of interest rate, for the psychological win of eliminating a debt entirely. The snowball method costs you a bit more in interest, but some people find the motivation boost of crossing off a debt makes them more likely to stick with the plan. Either approach works infinitely better than making minimum payments on everything and praying. Fifth, and this is a big one, understand the power of making extra payments on the principal of your mortgage. When you pay your regular mortgage payment, most of it goes to interest in the early years. On a $300,000 mortgage at 6%, your monthly payment is about $1,800. But in the first month, roughly $1,500 of that goes straight to the bank as interest, and only $300 goes toward actually paying down your loan balance. That ratio gradually shifts over time, but it is brutal in the beginning. Here is the hack. If you make just one extra mortgage payment per year, applied directly to principal, you can shave about 4 to 5 years off a 30-year mortgage and save tens of thousands in interest. An easy way to do this is to switch to bi-weekly payments instead of monthly payments. Instead of paying $1,800 once a month, you pay $900 every 2 weeks. Since there are 52 weeks in a year, that gives you 26 half payments, which equals 13 full payments instead of 12. You barely feel the difference in your budget, but the math works dramatically in your favor over time. Let me also talk about loans that look smart, but are actually traps. Buy now, pay later services let you split purchases into 4 payments over 6 weeks with no interest. Sounds great, right? The problem is, these services make it psychologically easier to overspend. Studies show people spend 20 to 30% more with buy now, pay later compared to paying the full price up front. If you miss a payment, some providers charge late fees or deferred interest rivaling credit card rates. And many do not report on-time payments to credit bureaus, so they cannot help your credit score. But some have started reporting missed payments, meaning they can hurt your credit without helping it. That is a one-sided deal. Another trap is 0% dealership financing on new cars. The rate is legitimate, but manufacturers usually do not offer 0% financing and the cash rebate simultaneously. You often choose between 0% or $2,000 to $4,000 off the price. If you have good credit and can get a low rate elsewhere, taking the rebate and financing through your bank might save more overall. Always run the comparison. Let me also quickly address a question I get constantly, which is whether you should pay off debt or invest. This is one of the most debated questions in personal finance, and the answer is actually pretty straightforward once you look at the math. If the interest rate on your debt is higher than the return you expect from investing, pay off the debt. If the return you expect from investing is higher than your interest rate, invest. The S&P 500 has returned an average of about 10% annually over the long term. So if you have a mortgage at 6%, the math suggests investing would earn you more over time than paying off the house early. But if you have credit card debt at 23%, there is no investment on earth that reliably returns 23% per year. Paying off that credit card is the equivalent of earning a guaranteed 23% return on your money. There is one important exception to this framework, though. If your employer offers a 401k match, always contribute enough to get the full match before paying extra on any debt, even high-interest debt. A 401k match is literally free money. If your employer matches 50% of contributions up to 6% of your salary, that is an instant 50% return on your investment before you even consider market gains. No debt payoff strategy can beat that. Before I wrap this up, I want to give you the one piece of advice about loans that nobody ever tells you but could save you from the biggest financial mistakes of your life. Always, always, always read the fine print. Not skim it, not glance at it. Read it. The difference between a good loan and a financial disaster is often hiding in the details. Look for prepayment penalties, which are fees some lenders charge you for paying off your loan early. If your loan has a prepayment penalty, that lender is literally penalizing you for being financially responsible, and you should consider walking away. Look for variable rate clauses. Some loans start at a low introductory rate and then adjust upward after a year or two. If you do not know this is coming, a manageable payment can become unaffordable overnight. Look for balloon payments, which are loans where you make small monthly payments for years and then a massive lump sum payment is due at the end. These are designed to look affordable until they suddenly are not. Let me leave you with this. Debt is not inherently good or bad. It is a tool, and like any tool, its value depends entirely on how you use it. The wealthiest people in America use debt strategically, borrowing at low rates to acquire assets that grow faster than the interest charges. The people who get crushed by debt use it emotionally, borrowing at high rates to fund consumption and lifestyle inflation that they cannot sustain. The difference between these two groups is not income. It is not luck. It is not intelligence. It is financial literacy. It is understanding the rules of the game before you sit down to play. And the fact that you just watched this video means you are already ahead of most people. Now go make the smart plays.